My hips are set really high on my body. Like my femurs are just, crazy long. It's a shoe. And all I do is I'm kind of like, I wake up and he's like, hey, this is where we're going today. This is what you need to do. And I'm like, let's do it.
Just because you said it don't mean you're saying something. Just because you felt it don't mean your heart ain't lying. Just because you heard it don't make it more than chatter.
That's the best thing I can do.
Everybody's talking. We talk what matters.
All right, I'm here with Paul Bailey. Paul is a senior at Person High School. He has been a member of the cross-country team, the wrestling team, the My Life Matters Equip team. He's been a leader at elementary camps and at middle school camps. He's active in his local church, and he is a dedicated weightlifter. And I met Paul when he was on this committed course a couple years ago to become state wrestling champion. The only thing that's derailed that so far has been like a broken nose and reconstructive surgery and a global pandemic and like working a full-time job while also doing senior studies. Just, normal kinds of things.
Just normal things.
It's really fun to sit down. I know both you and I are kind of geeky about like YouTube videos and podcasting kinds of things. So we just said, let's just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me hit you with a couple questions.
Alrighty.
First off, I know you're really committed to like strengthening your body, right?
Yes, sir.
And so tell me a little bit about this fitness journey, kind of what are the things that play into that and where it's taken you?
Yeah. So basically I started like maybe 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started because I had wrestled growing up and I had wrestled some in middle school. And then like going into 8th grade and 9th grade, I started realizing that like kids had just peaked before me and they had like gained a lot of strength really quickly, mostly of like just naturally. They weren't really lifting, they were just naturally really strong. And I was getting beat by kids who had no clue what they were doing, but I go out there and try to hit moves and they just, way stronger than me, pin me.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's okay.
And you don't like losing.
Yeah, and I was losing. So I was like, all right, that's okay. I'll fix the side of this that's wrong and I'll get really strong. And then I'll have both going for me. Yeah. But as I started doing that, I've realized that I like weightlifting a lot more than wrestling.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like I'm beginning to look back and be like, wait, what is wrestling? Like, why am I? Yeah. So I guess you could say I've strayed from like where I started for doing this, like what my purpose was, has now changed over to like, this is what I want my life to be. Like, I want to coach people. I want to compete professionally. I want to compete nationally. Like, I don't know for sure whether I want to do competitions where you're like posing and things like that, or strength competitions, where you're just lifting heavy weights and seeing who can.
So there's a whole community where this is the thing,
Yes,
it's
sir.
not like getting strong in order to do good at something else. It's like the strength and the process of building that strength, the kinds of ways you demonstrate it. So give me a little bit of an example, because I mean, I know you can't tell based on this physique, but like I'm not really in on that world. So
I hear you.
What kind of goes into it? What is it like?
Yeah, so most people aren't into that world, and when I tell them this, they're like, "Oh, they picture is like the magazines they see at the front of the line in Walmart." Yeah. They're like, "Oh, you want to look like that guy?" And it's like, well, no, there's actually a big difference in this. So you have powerlifting, which is kind of the federation that I would like to go into, where they take your 3 main lifts, which is squat, deadlift, and bench press, and they add it all up, the 3 lifts, and that's your total weight number. And then you're in weight classes and age groups. So for your age group and your weight class, you see who can get the biggest total there. So there is no...
So it is a scoring system. It is, I mean, it's been gamified, you know, essentially.
For sure.
You know?
It's definitely like down to a bone. And you have judges that are sitting there, and your form has to be perfect or else they won't call the lift, certified.
Sure.
So there's definitely a very specific type of lifting and thing that's going on here.
Well, let me ask you a kind of just a personality question. Would you say that this idea of like getting into something and then getting all into it, is that your personality? Is that kind of just how you treat most things in life, or is this unique?
So normally if I find something that I really like, I like go for it all in. Yeah. And what I've realized is normally when I go all in on something, what I did to go all in can lead to a whole nother passion.
Sure.
That's kind of how this has gone. And I'd say that's my personality, is like if I find something and I want it, and I see someone else doing, and I'm like, that's where I want to be 5 years from now.
You're kind of looking at that as a goal, and you're saying, I want to see myself there. How do you? I mean, not that you have to have this all figured out, but I wonder, how do you know if this is like another domino in a series of like, this is interesting and I'm all in, and then I find this that's interesting and I'm all, like, do you keep chasing and moving from thing to thing, or do you know, like, how do you decide what are the things that you should and could stick with kind of?
Yeah. So with that, I definitely have seen that, and I'm like, where does it end? Things like that.
Yeah.
But I noticed, like, in liking school sports, especially high school sports, it's things that's like, to compete at a higher level, you're looking at like the Olympics.
Sure.
Where it's like there is no amateur level at that for the most part. There's college, but there's, that's still pretty elite level. But with this, it's like you can find a powerlifting meet in most, cities.
Interesting.
So you could find a regional one in Raleigh that's like people from just central North Carolina or things like that, held at a small gym. But then you can also work your way up to being at a national level where you're competing against, some of the best in the country.
So you can sort of build this into your life without becoming like 90 hours a week invested in. I mean, like, it can be a thing without it being the only thing that you're involved with in your entire life.
A lot of the guys who do it actually and are really good at it, and that's in bodybuilding and powerlifting, it doesn't really pay the bills.
Yeah.
So unless they're coaching like other people to reach their fitness goals, or they're creating content, if they're not doing those two, they normally have an everyday job.
Yeah.
So like you'll see a bodybuilder who is a freak of nature, they're competing nationally. Like Ronnie Coleman, he was a cop. He was a police officer in the day and was one of the world's greatest bodybuilders by night.
So he needed a day job. I mean, essentially, it's just something that people have added and people have gotten passionate about, but it doesn't mean it's replaced every part of their life necessarily.
Which down the road, once you reach that level, it will overtake you. Sure. Yeah, and it definitely could once you're making, all those endorsements.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know just like anything that kind of gets plugged into advertising or media or entertainment, like there's people that have found ways to monetize it. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And so it can be really easy, especially sort of in the YouTube space, like to sort of think, well, this could be a full-time job, kind of creating content and sort of glamorizing that. I don't know. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Almost every hobby has a potential to be like somebody's job if they can find enough people watch them do it.
Yeah. Coaching is definitely a big route for that to make money.
Yeah.
Like in most of them, some of them have degrees or they'll just get certifications, almost like a realtor can just get their, realtor certificate and go do it. And that makes fairly decent money. You just have to have coached other people who have put out results that other people would want type thing. So you just have to be able to market yourself.
Yeah. So there's, you and I have had interesting conversations about like, it's not just about lifting, but maybe about the media side. Not just about media, but also like marketing and even like sort of budgeting and investment and things like that. Like, so some of the things you've described to me, it's really kind of learning all of these skills that kind of surround it. And then maybe one of those becomes a thing that you branch off and sort of chase down in its future as well. So shifting gears a little bit, thinking about the future, this year I'm sure has been different than any other year in your life. You haven't had that kind of regular interaction with your brother. I know you're not exactly like him, but you've made some decisions that kind of follow some of his decisions. So tell me what's life been like kind of without him around, that daily interaction?
It definitely has been very different. I would have loved to have seen how he would have reacted still being in high school to the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
He probably would have just worked like 60 hours a week and somehow got his schoolwork done. If I had to guess, that would have been him.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting. Like I don't have that example walking around anymore. So when I can't figure something out, it's kind of on my own.
So I know that you're an independent minded person. Like that doesn't necessarily throw you, but what are some of the things what are some of the ways that has sort of showed up over this year?
So like Will is always on top of everything. You know that. So let's say we're having something at school and it's like mandatory. Like you need to go. It's a meeting with who knows who, but it's something that has to get done. He would be the one who has checked his email, RSVP, told him we're coming, reserved a spot, this, that, and the other. And all I do is I'm kind of like, I wake up and he's like, hey, this is where we're going today. This is what you need to do. And I'm like, let's do it. So
Yeah.
haven't had that this year at all. So yeah.
Has it cost you? Has it grown you? Like what?
It hasn't really cost me on anything significant that I can tell, at least so far. Not saying that something won't come back to bite me later, but no, I mean, this year's definitely been different. So I haven't
it's
really
different
missed
for
anything.
everybody. I
Yeah,
know that.
for sure.
I know, you know. But I thought it was interesting. You were telling me you worked a ton of hours at first when everything kind of pulled back, the schedule pulled back, and you dove into those hours. And then you got to the spot where, you know, you kind of had to choose, work a ton of hours or work the senior year, you know, the studies and things like that. How's that going?
It's been going fairly well, I would say. So I gave up the working, which working went well because I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
It was COVID. They didn't even want you going out. So like, you know, parks were closed. So it's like you wake up and you're at your house. So to find out that you could make money during that, without having to worry about anything else. So that was the only thing I had to make it to.
Yeah.
It went very well. But also looking to now, there's no way I could have kept it up.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of this all-in mindset. Like, if you really want to succeed at your classes, to finish out the year, to finish out high school, to finish well, it's hard to do that and be all in with a job or.
And I always keep these like little projects around the house. So that's where I'm going after this, is to pick up a part for a 4-wheeler. So it's like, I'm trying to finish up. I need to finish up a couple projects at the house, my truck being one of them. You know about that.
Yeah.
And then I need to keep going with school. And I like it because I can actually focus on lifting a lot more.
Yeah.
Like before, I would wake up really early. You know, sometimes I'd wake up late and I wouldn't even eat anything. I'd go off to school, eat a slice of pizza at school lunch.
Yeah.
And then when I get out of school, go straight to wrestling practice for 3 hours. That's normally what I'd be doing right now. And then I get home at 7 at night and eat one good meal for the day.
Right.
And don't lift at all, other than like the cardio that happens at wrestling.
Feel puny,
For sure.
Like,
so I've loved that about it. I can eat what I want. I get my meals in like I should.
Yeah.
I get to go to the gym pretty laxed. You know, I've been rushed a little bit this week because I'll plan it right before something I have to go do, but it helps me get out of there in a reasonable time.
Yeah, sometimes the things that box us in actually help us do what we're really, the constraints make us actually do what we said we were going to do. Yeah. I've learned, things like scheduling, things like, promising to show up somewhere, as I've actually made me do the things I hoped to do.
I've definitely noticed that. I'll realize that if I don't sign up for something, like, for example, I just decided not to run cross country, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, I could run on my own, twice a week and just keep up with cardio. But it's like, if I'm not forced to go run and I'm not competing, so there's no one else to see me that I can't run, why do it,
Yeah.
So
like the community element is a huge part of what helps me accomplish my goals. So I know that you have a community of people that you lift with. You have people that you're, plugged in with, and that's probably a big part of why it's been a commitment for the last really like 2 years, right?
Yeah, they have definitely helped me a lot. Without it's just crazy how God put me here like at this exact time with these people that it like all came together for me to have like the ultimate setup of mentors and coaches and access to gym equipment. Yeah. So yeah.
That's pretty neat. And even just to see the way that the schedule has worked out, like time is really, really limited. In our culture, you can do anything you want. What mostly limits you is time. And then, of course, things like money and access and things like that.
Yeah.
But so it's just, I think it's interesting just to see you and other high school students managing their time, like seeing suddenly that their time is a resource.
Yeah.
Up until just a few months ago, somebody told them where to put all their time, and now it's like, oh, I need to sort of budget and invest this almost like investing money, and where you put it either gives you some payback or it doesn't. If I'm not careful, I sort of waste my time on I don't know, watching videos,
For sure. I'll notice that like 2 weeks will go by, and in those 2 weeks, I'll watch a lot of movies at the house, watch a lot of YouTube, stay up late, wake up late, just do the bare minimum on school. I'll even miss the gym occasionally because I'll be like, I had a lot of school to get done, but then I get it done late at night.
Right. You don't feel good.
Yeah, and then like 2 weeks later, I look back and I'm like, I've gotten nothing done. I have nothing to show for the past 2 weeks other than a passing grade
Like, you
in
got by.
some classes. Yeah,
Got
like
by.
all I did was got by.
Yeah.
But if I dedicate every hour of every day, it feels like I get so much more done.
True. Yeah. So what are the things that help you do that? People that you promise to show up for.
Yeah.
Goals kind of out in the distance. People you're looking at and saying, I want to be like that. We've talked about these, these people on YouTube that produce content that's helpful. And so sort of the difference between just consuming videos versus like treating it like education, almost like trying to learn. That's really interesting. I think those are super valuable, tools in your tool belt. All right, I have this silly thing that I like to do.
Okay.
Over the summer, I was trying to make some content instead of the My Life Matters clubs. And so I started doing this thing where I would bring some random object up from my basement and just talk about it because I'm a strange person. And so I asked you to bring an object. I'm going to play the theme song. And the theme song is What's That Thing? I know all of my things come from the basement. I don't really know where yours came from. So I'm going to go and play. It goes like this. It goes, what's that thing? What's that thing? What's that thing from his basement? All right, so it probably didn't come from your basement. What'd you bring today?
No, I brought it's a shoe. Y'all can tell that much.
Yeah.
But it's what makes this shoe special is it is a squat shoe, which most people probably would have no idea.
No idea what that is.
Like you could walk by it and be like,
That's
it's a shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. There isn't anything like, sentimental about this shoe.
Yeah.
I got it off Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. And they're fairly expensive if you buy them off of like the website that, Nike or whatever. They can be like $180 to $220.
So does it have support to handle the extra weight when you're lifting?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, when you're squatting, you don't want any movement in your foot, like in the pad against the floor. Whereas with tennis shoes, they're all about give. That's what they're made to do. They're made to give on whatever point has the most pressure.
That's right.
Whereas with this, it's like standing on wood.
Yeah.
So, it's not going to move. The reason I actually purchased these were because they have about an inch heel on the back end.
It's crazy.
And what that helps with is like if you can look at a skeleton doing a squat and the dynamics of it, the way the knees come forward, and you want the bar path in a squat to come like straight down and straight back up.
Yeah.
Where I'm really high hipped. So my hips are...
That's what I've always said about Paul. He's really high hipped.
My hips are set really high on my body. Like my femurs are just, crazy long. My upper body would be like a midget if I didn't have these long legs. So it was really hard for me to squat down and stay on my heels.
Sure. Yeah.
So
just because of where the center of balance is.
Where it is, yeah, for sure. So these help tremendously with, keeping my balance, staying on my heels, keeping my feet flat. And like when you're any weightlifting movement, you want to do it to where it gets comfortable and like every rep should feel great. Like it should be smooth. It should feel like every rep you've done before.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should feel planted in, almost like you're hooked in a machine and you know exactly what you're doing. And these really help with that. Like they were a game changer with my form.
That's really cool. Yeah. I would never have known that was unique equipment, but you can see sort of the support pieces right there. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you want to do some heavy lifting, you need a good foundation.
Yeah. So that's another thing. They help with your foundation so much.
Yeah.
So, and they're very stable.
That's cool. Thanks for bringing it. That's, what's that thing? That thing is squat shoes.
Squat shoes.
Squat shoes. Probably not from your basement, probably from your closet or something like that.
Gym bag.
Okay. I have a couple questions. We're here, in my office at My Life Matters.
Yeah.
My whole goal for kind of Talk That Matters is to take these conversations about things, like stuff we're just genuinely interested in, but just kind of draw the connections between like the things that we're learning from the Lord, the things that like the deep questions that really matter in life. And I know that you care about those things. So I was thinking about, there's a scripture in 1 Timothy. It says, physical training is of some good, but training in godliness is of great good. It kind of gives this like it one ups it. And so I guess I know you care about training in godliness. I know you care about growing in your faith. So what are some of the things that you feel this year maybe have contributed to the growing of your faith?
Yeah. So the guy I lift with the most right now, and I was at his home gym, for the past 6 months or
Yeah.
so, maybe 8 months now since coronavirus started. I started lifting with him. Well, he is going to seminary in at Southeastern.
Yeah.
I want to say he's finished now, like he's
Maybe.
graduated. He's at least doing it. And but anyway, so he's actually a youth pastor now.
Yeah.
At Barry's Grove, I want to say, and he leads a group there on Thursday nights at his home. Just for, it's kind of like a college transitional group.
Yeah.
But it's just a really nice place to plug in with people that you know, and like you can fellowship with them.
Yeah.
And we've been going through books of the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful because I know him very well as a person.
Right.
And I'm always with him, spend lots of time with him. And to hear him dive into these books, it's like, I don't know, maybe I just take it to heart more because it's coming from someone with such an influence on me.
That kind of thing usually has more impact on me than hearing a preacher who's out there. You know, maybe they have great things to say, but if you hear someone that you know, you trust, you kind of do life with, I mean, that impacts me. I think everyone kind of.
For sure.
So I see a real parallel, like, you know, there's a community of people pushing you to some of these physical goals.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's that same community that's pushing you to spiritual goals, to sort of grow in your study of the scriptures and probably the way that you kind of take those things to heart and put them in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. Well, look, I have one other thing. This game is basically some version of Kerplunk. I have a few. I have a cup, and I have cheated. I've already cheated to try to beat you.
Okay.
I have made you basically have to play this game left-handed.
I see that.
You see? So
Yeah.
I really like winning. Before we play this game, let me just hit you with some really quick questions, right? Just a handful of quick questions. What's the last song that you played? Like you actually scrolled and picked and hit play. Are you a person who plays music?
Yeah, I've gone through probably 200 to 300 Spotify songs today since I woke up.
Well, what's one of them?
I listened to one. It's called "Falling" by Harry. I don't know his last name, but it's called "Falling." Let me think. I actually listened to 3 Weeks today.
How about that?
Yeah,
I think I came out with that last summer.
Yeah, and it's in one of my playlists. And
That's fun.
I'll cue it up all the time.
Interesting.
It's just, I don't know. It like puts you in the mood.
It's emotional.
To like, yeah, it really is. It's like moving, and it's like. Yeah, it just puts you in the mood to like think hard on whatever you need to do.
How about that? All right, what about the last video you queued up and played? What's the last
last video? So like YouTube, correct?
whatever you
Okay, I watched the CrossFit games this week.
Okay.
That was kind of cool. Matt Frazier, he's a beast. It made me actually want to go start doing CrossFit, but I was like, no. Like I've read about it, and one of my friends, Carson, he was into it for a while.
Yeah.
But it's just so much harder on your joints, and it takes so much more of your life. Like the training is so much more vigorous. They're in there 7 days a week. You know, they're icing everything after. It's such an elite level of fitness and physically fit. So,
well, this is the season. I mean, once you're old and wore out, like to do things that are hard on your joints is really dangerous.
Yeah.
You know.
So,
last question. What's the last thing that you saved up for to buy? So I don't know what's a good price tag, like $100 or more, $1,000. What's the last thing you saved up for?
and bought it.
Yeah.
Last thing I saved up for and bought that was over $100 would probably be, man, that's a tough one actually.
I don't know.
Like I've bought stuff over $100, but not like single ticket items.
I don't know.
I mean, I buy things to flip them quite often.
Well, give me an example of one of those.
I've bought some 4-wheelers that were just not running.
Yeah.
Worked on them and
Bought them, worked on them. Did you? Yeah.
Some of them have been sold.
Some of them are still
sitting around. Parents know about that. Not too happy, but trying to clean out their garage space.
There we go.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Man of many talents. All right. Well, basically, I am the orange ping pong balls, and you are the white ones.
Okay.
And let's play around. Let's see. The goal is bounce them, and the first person to hit 3. Or
Okay.
if we run out, then the game is over. I'm not chasing these.
It's funny that you said you put me at a disadvantage. I am left-handed.
Well, there we go.
But but I write with my left hand, but do everything else with my right. So Will's the same way, actually.
That's
my
funny. I
brother.
didn't even know you were left-handed.
Yeah, like
so.
everything I write's left-handed, but then it's like throw a ball, bounce play ping pong with my right hand, shoot a basketball. Everything is right hand dominant except for writing.
that.
So
All right. First one to 3. Ready, set, go. Oh, I got one in right off the bat. Goodness. 1 to 1. Oh, 2 to 1. Oh my goodness. You
that was me?
That was you.
I thought, wait a second, we're gonna have to play this back. I think mine bounced off of yours and went out, and that yours went in. I think it did. I was like, no, wait, you got the 2 there.
Well, here's the funny thing. The first thing I threw was a white ping pong ball, which is what I said. So I threw the whole.
I know. I was like, I thought you said you were orange.
Yeah.
And I look over and you're sitting here like this.
I know.
All right,
I know.
let's do this.
All
I was
right.
like,
throw whatever you want and just call them out. All right. Ready, set, go. 1 for me. 2 for me. Oh, I got you this time. Come on. Oh, that's you. Oh, that's 2 for you. Oh, come on. Ah!
as your whole floor is just full of
Everything is
ping pong
covered.
balls. That was fun though. That was intense, and we had one left.
One last.
One left.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Everybody's talking, we talk what matters.